Today on Locked On Red Wings, Jonathan Berggren calls game, and the Red Wings are riding their second 3-game win streak of the season.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's the host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News, while I am a color commentator for Oakland University, ACHA D1 men's hockey. And Scotty, the Red Wings are officially hot, riding a 3-game win streak for just the second time this season. First thought we'll get to in just a second, but first I got to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $250 in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com today to get started. Scotty, first thought in a 5-4 thrilling, just absolute offensive showing from these two teams, win in Columbus.
Are we back?
There's whispers. There's whispers.
That was my first thought. Are we so back? No, look, I obviously it's going to take a lot more for me, certainly. I don't imagine most of the fan base to be like all the way back on the bandwagon and kind of having full faith in the direction of where this team is headed. But it wasn't a beautiful, sunshine and rainbows game. Okay, there was plenty wrong that we'll still talk about. There's plenty that needs to be addressed and worked on. But ultimately, if you take out the first game of McClellan's tenure, which technically was his first game, but barely counts, right? Like he got hired hours before, seemingly, and like pretty much had no game plan or implemented whatsoever. Outside of that, they have not only won all 3 games since then, but they have looked like the better offense. They've looked like the more dangerous offense in all of those games. The possession metrics have been way better. And again, still not perfect. There's still a lot that needs to be addressed and player personnel stuff and whatnot that we'll talk about. But when you go 3 consecutive games with 3 wins, and as you pointed out before we hit record, out shooting your opponent 3 times in a row too, that's going to go a long way for the faith in coaching. And I think that's kind of where I'm at right now, is just like, I could watch this for the next, 5 months.
Fun.
This is a product that I'm much more inclined to. Well, I guess I'm watching 82 either way, but this is a product I'm much more pleased to be sitting down to watch. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly where I'm at, too. I don't think we're back, but they're playing a much more exciting brand of hockey, and there's a lot more to be encouraged about watching these hockey games than there was previous to this. Like, they're playing with energy, and honestly, I don't know how much of the system is in place and how much of it is just McClellan loosening him up and telling him to go play hockey, right? But like we've seen in the 3 straight wins we've had under McClellan, we've seen the same hockey game kind of play out in each one. Obviously, this game a little bit sloppier than the previous 2, but like you look at analytically, same game. And like, once is a one-off, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a trend type thing. So you're going to continue to watch, like, will they continue to come out of the gate hot and then cool off and let the other team back in it in the second period just to have an even third? Because that's what this game was. Same thing. My first thought was kind of what I was alluding to just now, is this was a very, very fun game, but a very sloppy game. There was a lot of very easy offense the Red Wings gave up in the defensive zone. A lot of that, in my opinion, came from the forwards just absolute lapsing, but the Red Wings the defense wasn't clearing the net in front either. That led to 2 goals as well. So it ended up being just an absolute shootout. You should not lose 2 separate leads in a given game. That's not acceptable, but you did enough to get the win, and McClellan likes to say it's generally a race to 3 goals, and the Red Wings had 3 goals at the end of the first. Kind of puts the onus on Columbus to force a comeback, and the Red Wings were able to stave it off. So it was a really fun game. The offense is back, 3 straight games with 4+ goals. Remember, coming in to McClellan's tenure, the Red Wings had one of the fewest goals for in the league, and now that's 12 goals in 3 games. If you include Toronto, that's 14 goals in 4 games. I mean, the offense is really showing up. And outside of this game, the games against Penguins and Capitals, the defense hasn't been too shabby either. So all good signs from this Detroit Red Wings team right now. Obviously, still a lot to clean up, but like I said after the Penguins game, like this feels like a team that is playing much closer to their potential. They still need a little bit more depth scoring. Obviously, Berggren getting that game winner at the end was fantastic. But, you need guys like Comfort to score more goals, Rasmussen to score more goals. You need them to show up on the stat sheet more. But your top players are showing up, and you're getting 1 or 2 depth goals a game now, which is winning you hockey games. It's kind of crucial. Difference maker, Scotty. We could go with 1,000 different things in this hockey game, but what are you rolling with?
Well, I mean, like, do you want Burger? Do you want?
I have say whatever you want. I have like 2 other backups, and then
yeah. Well, like I almost feel like the Burger one is just like so obviously the difference maker in this game.
The literal difference maker.
So like I don't even feel, it doesn't even feel right to pick that. I guess I'll pivot and go with the one I went into the recording and I was gonna say, which is the first period. And that's something that we talked about before we hit record as well. And you brought up, like, they have done a really solid job early in hockey games so far in the McClellan era. Now that's, 3, technically 4, but like we're counting 3 games total, like small sample size still. We'll see if it's continuable. Sure. We'll see if it continues. But I think that is such a nice change of pace, like especially toward the end of Lalonde. Like there was a lot of sluggish starts that weren't very inspiring performances, and they have just hit the ground running for 3 games in a row. I mean, you look at especially Washington and then tonight, I mean, you're talking about what is that, 5-6 goals in the first period in those 2 games combined. Like that's going to obviously go a long way. Now the 7, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they scored 4 in the first of the Washington game and 3 tonight, so it's 7 in between those 2 games.
The flip side of that is now you have to figure out how to not just like park the bus and just let your opponent have offensive pressure for the next 40 minutes and get themselves back in to the game every time you jump out to an early lead. But you'd rather have an early lead than not. So that's definitely something that we will gladly take. And that's been a reoccurring theme so far in the McClellan era. I don't know if that's correlation or causation, but we will gladly take it. So that's going to be my difference maker yet again. I mean, a 3-goal first period will do it more nights than not.
Yeah, no, and that goes a long way. I was just mentioning it, the race to 3 goals, right? And the Red Wings in 2 of those games got 3 goals in the first period. And now then you start to wonder, because even in the game against the Penguins, right, where they dominated the first on the stat sheet in terms of like shot attempts, shots on net, things of that nature, they were only up 1-0, was it, or maybe tied 1-1 after the first. And then they still kind of got pounded in the second, and that's been the trend, right? So this is where you only have 3 games of a sample size, so it's too early to tell. Like, is this just them running out of stamina because they come out flying so much? Is that a designed feature by McClellan where you get out to a lead and so you try to shut it down in the second? Because by all accounts, they actually played very good defense in the second period. Like there was like no sustained pressure by Columbus, but the goals that happened to tie that game were just such lapses in the defensive zone and easy offense that can't happen. But like overall, they were consistently shutting things down and then just like boneheaded laps. But then in the third period, they always readjust. So like, is it vestiges of the Lalonde era? Is it McClellan intentional? Is it running out of gas? Like, it's too early to tell what it is. But either way, they come out hot. They put the onus on the other team to have to come back. And then in the second intermission, they readjust and they play a good third. And that's what happened. Like, they didn't sit back. They got the lead back early on the power play in the third period, Scotty. They didn't sit back and then rest on that lead. They kept pushing. Eventually, Columbus Blue Jackets still ended up scoring on another, got to clear the front of the net, can't let JVR just stand there, have the puck go bounce off him type goal. But they were pushing that entire third. They weren't sitting back, and I love to see that from this team, the ability to adjust. But the defensive lapses, they got to cut down on that. if they want to have any sustainable victories. It's kind of like the reverse. Like they weren't giving up a ton of opportunities under Lalonde on any given basis. They just weren't scoring. Now they're scoring a ton, but they're giving up a lot of easy offense on dumb lapses. But that's what's nice about dumb lapses, Scotty, is that's easy to clean up. The dumb lapses can be addressed.
On paper.
If consistently you're playing poor in the defensive zone, then that's a bigger issue.
Right.
And that doesn't seem to be a problem early yet. I got a couple difference makers, or I got a difference maker, and then I guess we'll call it the number one notable performer, whoever doesn't make the list. So stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can finish this season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. But Scotty, tonight I did a little something different. I know we're primarily talking about the NFL, but I did take, obviously, the Red Wings dogs on the road in Columbus, won myself $1. And then I took Carolina dogs on the road in Florida and won myself another $1. Because again, I'm a coward who hates betting big, but hey, that's still a couple dollars in my pocket. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports partner of the NFL. I don't make enough money to bet more than like $5 at a time. I'm poor. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, you went out of focus.
Fuzzy there. Did you see that?
You went out of focus.
Yeah, that was crazy.
My difference maker in this hockey game, I mean, yeah, it's kind of a cop-out, but like Jonathan Berggren, like we said, it was literally the difference in this game. And, I want to expand that a little bit because I feel like that play and that penalty kill in particular was huge. And I think that blends really nicely into the notable performer after that. But first and foremost, like that penalty kill, that failed challenge, that was a brutal challenge by Todd McClellan. When I saw it, I was like, you could, but I don't think you're going to win it because JVR was in the blue, but he didn't really impede Cam Talbot's ability to make the save. And so when he called that challenge, I'm like, ooh, this is a Hail Mary because if you win it, you're up 4-3 still late. But if you lose, it's tied 4-4 and you're on the penalty kill. Well, he lost it as we all kind of suspected he would. Red Wings go on the penalty kill. They shut it down. They lock it down. They were preventing zone entries. They were doing so good. At one point, Larkin knocks down his man, takes the puck, and tries to split the D in the offensive zone. Like, that was a lockdown penalty kill. And I know they still went 1 for 2 on the night, but the penalty kill has been notably better and more aggressive, which has been really reassuring to see. But notably at the end of that penalty kill is what led to the goal. Ben Sherratt, point-blank range, goes down the block the shot. It squirts to the middle of the defensive zone where Tyler Mott makes a diving play as Berggren gets out of the box. He sees Berggren. He goes, I'm going to sell out to try and knock this for a breakaway, and he does. And Berggren, tit for tat, just like almost exactly like his goal against the Penguins, just puts that puck top shelf on Elvis Merzlikins, and the Red Wings win 5-4. So it's really that penalty kill and that play, all in all, that is my difference maker, because that type of effort, that type of selling out for not just selling out to protect your goalie and block a shot, selling out to complete a pass for a breakaway, that's the type of effort that we were not getting a week ago. We were not getting under Lalonde. That the team had given up, and now this team looks completely different. They look completely rejuvenated. And no, new clutch bump is real. McClellan's addressed it. He's like, we're in the honeymoon phase. But right now, this team is playing incredible. And I feel like that play for the game winner was the microcosm of everything going right for the Detroit Red Wings right now. And it feels like it's been a long time since we've talked about what's going right for the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, and I mean, I think probably the most overlooked part of that is going to be the fact that they were on the kill to end the game, right? Like not, I guess, literally as the clock hit 0, but like two of the last 2.5 minutes of this hockey game, they were on the kill. And who would have thought that, a few weeks ago that we'd be talking about penalty kill saving and winning a hockey game for the Detroit Red Wings. This was a penalty kill that's been pretty brutal all year and still is pretty brutal in terms of season ranking. But The fact that it was able in the biggest of moments to come through, and then obviously the pass, as you mentioned, you detailed there, pass and execution from Berger was fantastic. But yeah, man, I think that kill and obviously then the goal are pretty clearly the two biggest difference makers in this game.
Absolutely. And I think from there we can transition into notable performer one, the special teams. Obviously, we just talked about that one kill. They did allow a power play goal to start the game. Bad too many men penalty. You got to avoid that. But the power play, 2 for 3 in this hockey game, it's continued to be a strength for the Red Wings after it was in a funk at the end of the Lockon era. It's come back alive. It's been scoring, and I think it's scored now in 3 straight games for the Detroit Red Wings. DeBrincat on the first power play, and then Larkin on the second one. In the third period. I guess that would be the third one, rather, in the third period. And that power play is huge notable performer for the Red Wings as it gets going. And Columbus Blue Jackets, to their credit, that was a hard penalty kill to play against. They play a very aggressive penalty kill. They attack the point man, force him to make a pass, and what they do is then the second guy, they kind of intentionally force the pass along the boards, and as soon as they motion to make that pass on the boards, the second Columbus Blue Jacket defender goes to the boards and kind of traps that player there, and it was working. So the Red Wings had to work fast to make passes to get open. But problem is when you sell out like that, you leave vacancies on the ice. And the Red Wings were able to navigate around that pressure, create vacancies on the ice for Alex DeBrincat to score short side. It was a beautiful goal. He stays hot. 3-point night for him. He's a notable performer in his own right. And then, of course, Dylan Larkin's tic-tac-toe goal out front, which is great to see him scoring back-to-back games. Lucas Raymond, we owe you a lot for getting our captain off the schneid. So power play, special teams in general, just huge notable performer.
How about the chippiness after the final buzzer? Raymond getting kind of clocked in the mouth there a little bit. That was I don't know. That was an interesting way to end the game. Obviously, emotions are high. That was a very tense last 2-3 minutes of the game, but little chippy there to get out of Columbus.
Absolutely, yeah. Notable performer. Who else you got, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few different ways you can go. I mean, Patrick Kane, yet again, offensively, continues to be really solid. I think he opened the scoring in this one. Yeah, it was the first goal of the game for the Wings. So, man, we'll just continue to reiterate. Like, this is a guy that if you, I almost feel it's weird. Like, if you can get him going, like clearly he is. I think it's been a big enough of a sample now. Like you're talking about 4 or 5 games in a row of him putting together, really good performances. He's scored, and I don't even know how many of the last 5 games, 3 or 4 of the last 5 games. I mean, that's. I'm not saying like, oh, he's completely back to what he was necessarily in the second half of last season. But if he's not, he's dang close. He's playing really good hockey now. And that's something that the Wings, Captain Obvious statement need. But also, as we mention a lot, if the Patrick Kane line is going to be unplayable in the defensive zone and struggle in transition and on defense, then they better be producing offensively. And they have been lately. So that's a good thing.
Yes. That's 2 points in this game. He assisted on the Dylan Larkin goal as well. So that gives him 9 points in the last 9 games, which is coming directly off 9-10 games without a point. So he's definitely hot again, and that's incredibly vital for the team. We talked about it yesterday. Oddly enough, like his line, despite giving up more shot attempts than creating when they're on the ice, they were the line with the best expected goals for percentage, which, says to me, it says to me that, and that was an 80%. Almost 81% expected goals for percentage. It was not like 51 or anything. Like that says to me that while they're giving up plenty of shot attempts, the opportunities they were creating were high danger attempts. And that's what you need out of Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat when they're on the same line. And, Andrew Kopp, for what it's worth, I know he hasn't contributed on the score sheet, but like that seems to be a center that can push those guys, drive that line so that they can succeed as they have been. Yeah, and like I kind of just piggybacking off of that, Alex DeBrincat, as previously mentioned, 3-point night for him. He's been incredible. I kind of tweeted it out after he scored that power play goal. He's kind of been an unsung hero this season. I mean, there's not a lot of heroes on this team. We talk a lot about Simon Edvinsson, Moritz Seider, Lucas Raymond, the young guys, but Alex DeBrincat has quietly been putting together a very consistent season scoring-wise. That was his 16th goal of the season. He's second on the team. He's on pace. If you prorate it, Scotty, he's on pace for 35 goals. Yeah, and like we said, we wanted, 35 to 40 goals out of him as a Detroit Red Wings, and he's on pace to provide that for the Detroit Red Wings. And then he had 2 apples as well. He has quietly been very consistent in the offensive zone and on the power play for the Red Wings. So kudos to Alex DeBrincat. Hope that stays.
Absolutely.
So we're going to do another quick break when we return. We got more notable performers. Like, this is a game where the offense was so plentiful. There's so much you can talk about. And we also got a little bit of negatives to talk about as well. So stay tuned. Segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? It's definitely happened to all of us. You have a few subscriptions that you didn't even realize you were still paying for, but Rocket Money makes it so easy to track those all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings together everything in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, we talked about Kane, we talked about Cat, we talked about in general just Berggren and the special teams. I got plenty of other guys on this difference maker list, but who do you got before I just pop off here?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Gus for finally getting his first goal as a Red Wing. I think my favorite part was his reaction. Like, clearly he's been getting he's been getting made fun of for sure, I guess is the way I'm going to put it, by teammates. Like, there's no way that he hasn't just been getting a ton of crap from
fun, like nice.
Yeah, yeah, like in a fun, like
him.
lighthearted way. There's no way he hasn't been getting some locker room, shoulder nudging there for that. So I'm glad that he was able to get that kind of monkey off his back and getting on the score sheet. But yeah, it ended up being a huge goal in the game. Obviously, any goal in a 1-goal game is going to be kind of magnified, and clearly that's what this ended up being. But yeah, nice to see him get on the score sheet for sure.
I just love how that play transpired too. That Justin Holl from the neutral zone just goes to dump it in, and he did the old around the world assist where it goes all the way around the boards, comes to Gustaffson along the far side boards after going all the way around, and he just rips it off the post and in. Like, that's just Justin Holl's probably thinking to himself, like, that's the easiest assist I've ever gotten in my entire life. Like, he went to dump it in from the neutral zone and ended up getting a primary assist on a goal. And, like, yeah, props to Gustaffson. Obviously, we've been highly critical of his play. And some of that, too, we think was the previous coaching staff. But they needed him to get going, because if you're going to be as underwhelming as he is in the defensive zone, you got to provide offense, which is what he was signed to do. So I'm really hoping that first goal by him, and it was a really beautiful slap shot, is the first of many and kind of gets him going in the right direction. He's had a couple close calls, like we joked on the previous episode, 2 episodes ago rather, about how, it was yesterday's episode, about how JT Compher stole a goal because that puck looked like it might have squeaked in without his assistance to get it across the goal line. So Gustaffson finally getting that. I felt that for him. Like, when he looked to the rafters and yelled "finally," I felt that. Like, I think every person who's ever played hockey has gone through a slump, and getting that first goal, it's like, wow, it's like that monkey gets off your back, and hopefully this, kind of like with Larkin, right, with the empty net goal, can lead to perpetual offense.
Yeah, very similar offensive producers.
You think that's funny? You think you're funny? Smart Alec over here. The rest of my notable performers or things I want to mention from this game aren't as positive. I do want to talk about the sloppiness defensively, which, again, I think it's mostly like lapses that can be cleaned up rather than like a problem with how the team is playing. The forwards in this game were kind of non-existent in the defensive zone, and that led to 2 big goals against. The most notable was that one, the game-tying goal at the end of the second period, Sean Monahan's goal. Sherratt took the puck carrier. Seider took the pass. Talbot probably overcommitted a little bit, so it was Joe Veleno's job to pick up Monahan backdoor. And I understand it was the end of the shift. Lucas Raymond, not a great change by him either. Those guys retired, so they coasted. That's not an excuse. That's a reality. Does not make it okay. You still have got to play your position. That was Joe Veleno's guy to pick up. He did in that puck just. I mean, I watched that happen in what felt like slow-mo as that puck just slid through, went right past Moritz Seider and Cam Talbot, and then Sean Monahan wide open with no one covering him, just left it wide open. Tarasenko had a couple of really brutal turnovers in the defensive zone, and then the defenseman not clearing the net front, right? That's how JVR got both of his goals. One on the power play. Jeff Petrie failed to clear it down. Couldn't clear JVR out. And in the end, I can't remember who the defenseman was that was fighting with JVR on the game-tying goal at the end of the game, near the end of the game. But you just got to clear your net front. And if you're a forward, you got to help out in the defensive zone. As much fun as it is to score goals, it's also fun winning 5-3 or 5-2 rather than having to wait for a miracle on a breakaway you didn't plan for on a failed challenge.
Well, yeah, honestly, the whole back and forth, really the entire third period was very exciting hockey. If we want to be blunt about that, and again, this isn't the Blue Jackets that are perpetually at the very bottom of the league standings. This has been a 500 team this year, so to play neck and neck. Really 60 minutes, I guess, is what it ended up being. But especially that third period was really good hockey on both sides, even though, again, you mentioned some sloppiness from the wings there. I think in general, Talbot, I think he absolutely overcommitted on the one goal.
He didn't have a great game.
Pass behind him, basically, for a wide open net there. And on the other side. I think that's, and I don't know. I don't want to be too critical. He was really, really good pre-injury, and I'm not sure anybody expected him to maintain that level of play the rest of the season. I'm not sure the Wings even planned on playing him as much as percentage-wise as they have already so far this season. So we'll kind of see what happens there. I'm glad that the whole goalie room is healthy now, which is a step in the right direction. But we'll see how it's divvied up going forward, man. I still. I don't know. It was such a massive over achievement for the first 3 months of the year that I kind of was expecting a come down to earth a little bit. And if you can win games in which your goalies aren't great, that's going to go a long way. And that's what I think will happen in this game. I'm
really glad you mentioned goaltending, because that's the last place I want to go with this game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Elvis Merzlikins had a really, really poor performance. Yeah, and we talked about it yesterday.
Obviously, the first period especially was absolutely brutal.
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. The goaltending for the Columbus Blue Jackets is a huge question mark. And the Blue Jackets are really good at home. They only had 4 losses on the regulation losses at home this season, now 5. But the goaltending's been pretty poor all season long. And, you could look at every single one of those goals almost and go, what is Merzlikins doing? I mean, the first one was a scramble in front rebound goal. Getting a couple more rebound goals, by the way. Something they didn't have pre-McClellan either, Patrick Kane. But also, the second goal, which was the Gustaffson goal. He misplayed it behind the net. He didn't get set in time. He got back, and you see the frustration in him. He knew that he should have been set and ready. You can't let that puck in. Dylan Larkin's goal, the one where he put it in front, he got a piece of that one. Jonathan Berggren's breakaway goal, he got a piece of that one.
Yeah, I mean, that one, that was 1-on-0. That one's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And who was that? All the goal scorers in the game. It just felt like 3 of the 4. It felt like he could have.
Cat. You saw Cat.
Oh yeah, Cat. The Cat one, short side. You can't get scored on short side right there. And if you watch, Cat outweighted him, and Merzlikins came off his post expecting a pass across, and he just tucked it short side. So again, almost every single one of those goals, Merzlikins could have made a difference, and he did not. And it benefited the Red Wings, but we've definitely been there. And we know Merzlikins has got better goaltending in him than what he's showing this year. I don't know what's going on with him. I'm not a Blue Jackets fan. I don't know if it's mental or what, but this has not been a strong year for him thus far.
For sure.
That's all I got for the game.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Red Wings play in Winnipeg on Saturday at 3 o'clock?
And you're right. I don't have my calendar with me down here, but I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it's an afternoon game. But the Winnipeg Jets, Scotty, are they're the top team in the Central Division.
Yeah.
They're 27-11-1. They're very good this year. So this is going to be a real test for the Detroit Red Wings. Now, 3 huge wins for the Red Wings, right? Intra-conference games, all 3 of which are teams you're chasing in the wild card. But this Winnipeg Jets, this is going to be a litmus test to see how much this team really has improved over the course. The Jets are a weird team, Scotty. They have the best power play in the NHL. The best power play in the NHL. 32.5% on the power play. That's 5% more than the Devils at second. Middle of the pack on the penalty kill. But here's where it gets weird. At 5-on-5, Scotty, their Corsi for percentage, which is just the shot attempts for versus the shot attempts against at 5-on-5, they rank 24th. And expected goals for percentage, they rank 22nd. So this Winnipeg Jets team is good, but I almost wonder if they're riding Vezina caliber goaltending and Connor Hellebuyck and an incredible power play to all their success, because their 5-on-5 numbers suggest they're not as good as their record would show. Now, at the end of the day, the wins are all that matters. But this is a weird team. I've never seen a team with such poor 5-on-5 numbers be this high in the standings. Well, save maybe last year, but the Red Wings weren't that high.
Yeah, no, I mean, this team is they are, as you mentioned, first in the power play. They are first in team save percentage, as you mentioned, Hellebuyck having a fantastic Vezina caliber season.
930, Scotty.
Yeah,
a 930
ridiculous.
save percentage in 2025. The league average is 905. If this was 2011, it'd be a different story. All save percentages were crazy high at that point. 930 in 2025.
They are, so that in turn has them as the first in fewest goals against a game. So, I mean, fairly easy correlation there. They are first in power play. They are second in the league in just goals for. And I think that obviously you mentioned a lot of that comes from the power play, but I mean, they have weapons, and even if the possession metrics aren't necessarily in their favor, they have the second highest goals scored a game in the entire NHL on the season, and so it's just while looking at a team's ranking in different stats, and for Winnipeg, it's just first, second, first, and then you get to the penalty kill, 17th. Face off, they're in the 20s, but this is a team that can and will score on you and does not allow goals, and that is the recipe for success in the NHL. Yeah, believe it or not, if you don't allow goals and you do score goals, you're probably going to be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, despite them being 22nd in expected goals for percentage at 5-on-5, their expected goals for flat is 12th in the league, and their goals scored at 5-on-5 is 11th.
Yeah.
So they have incredible finishing, and they can give up opportunities and sell out for offense because they have one of the best goaltenders, Michigan native, in net for them in Winnipeg. So this is a team that, if you want to win, you're going to have to outgun them. And I don't know. I mean, pray for Eric Comrie, I guess. There's not going to be too many stinkers in, Hellebuyck's tenure with Winnipeg. So it's going to be a huge test for the Detroit Red Wings. Obviously, they're led up front on offense. Kyle Connor's got 51 and 39. Mark Scheifele's got 44 and 39. So they got some incredible finishers on that roster as well. We're over time already, but just real quick, World Junior Championship update. You have the USA beat Switzerland 7-2. Obviously, Trey Augustine, that means he's going to the semifinals. Finland, who has Jesse Kiskinen, who the Red Wings traded for, prospect the Red Wings traded for in the offseason. They won 5-3 in their quarterfinals, so they're going on as well. They beat Slovakia. And Sweden beat Latvia 3-2. Latvia really, really bringing it hard to Sweden. That Latvia team was fun this year. They beat Team Canada, took Sweden all the way down to the wire, 3-2. That was a fun squad. I'm really happy for Latvia. But Axel Sandin Pellikka Trey Augustine and Jesse Kiskinen are all advancing to the semifinals. It's going to be Kiskinen versus ASP in the semifinal, and then the USA, Trey Augustine playing the Czechs as they beat Team Canada. So Canada's out, not even medaling because they lost in the quarterfinal. You hate to see it. You just hate to see it. So, yeah, that's your prospect update for the World Junior Championships. All 3 Red Wings prospects, all 3 going to the semifinals, all 3 with a chance to play for a medal. Scotty, any final thoughts?
We ball, baby.
We do ball. Oh, yeah, Jeff Petrie hurt. Kind of big news. He left the game injured. Did not return.
Yeah,
no updates at this time.
Kind of help him off the ice a little bit.
Yeah, so obviously we'll be following that story. Same time, same place. Your team every day.